we are going to do our carbon footprint assessment in the Hedgehog Carbon dashboard. So how do you do that? You go to dashboard.hhc.earth. Then you sign up when you don't have an account yet or you're logging in. You take your data collection form. So preparation is key. Make sure that you have your data collection fully filled before filling it in the dashboard. And here again, double check with your team because errors are easily made. There we are. Another important thing to note about our dashboard is that we are working with a passwordless login system. So you do not have to remember your password, but you are requesting a code which is sent to your email address, and then that code is valid for only 1 hour, and then lets you log in into your dashboard environment. When you are logging in for the first time, you'll end up in the environment like this. So you get a get started pop-up with press the button below to start calculating, of course, because you have not yet filled in any data, and that's something that you need to do first. When you are creating your account for the Hedgehog Carbon dashboard, you are following the sign-up flow, and you get a few questions in the beginning. These questions are on the database that you want to use and on the reporting frequency that you want to follow. So when you are in the environment, you have the navigation menu on the left, and you can change those questions, those settings again by going to settings. There's the data management tab. So over here you can choose whether you want to monitor your business carbon footprint on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis. If you just want to make one business carbon footprint, of course, this choice doesn't really matter because both will fit. But at the moment that you really want to track your progress over time, make your decision here to make sure that it is aligned with what you want to achieve from your monitoring frequency. Second, then there's the database. When you're a Dutch organization, take the NL database, Netherlands. When you are an English organization or anywhere around the world, then take the English database, which is probably a little bit more representative. If you are in any other nation, please get in touch because we can always build an additional database that is then suitable for your organization. For now, we have our our data collection spreadsheet with all the information. And then we are going to put in the information in our Hedgehog Carbon dashboard. Currently, I'm over here at the bottom or at the top. You can see in what scope you are. You have the main emission sources here, and then the individual emission sources listed here. Please do not forget to click on this little arrow, otherwise you won't see them. On the units are listed just next to your input shield. So, for example, when I'm consuming 100 cubic meters of natural gas, I'm filling in 100 here. If you are consuming 100 liters of natural gas, please do not forget to transform those liters to 0.1 cubic meters, or that's not even correct, but to the right unit, which is listed on the right side. Same goes for propane, for example. It's very common that these propane come in tanks. Do not fill in the amount of tanks, but fill in the amount of tanks multiplied by the amount of liters to get to the right unit, which is listed here for propane to be in liters as well. Additionally, there is some information here listed in the question marks. This information is a bit on what is the emission source that you're looking at. There are some tips on where you can find this information, at what department, and where the emission reference is coming from. So any additional information is listed under the question marks on the right side. Of course, for the sake of this webinar, I have already pre-filled all the information so that you do not have to look at me filling in all the data. So when I am switching to the tab in October here at the right top, you can see the same information that we were just looking at when we were looking at my data collection spreadsheet or Excel sheet if you want. When I filled in all my scope 1 emissions, you can press enter or the save button or whatever you want and switch to the next step, which is here scope 2. In scope 2, we had some district heating, for example, in gigajoules. We had some green electricity from our solar panels on the roof. And we had some average mix electricity from our supplier and from our electric vehicles. If you want to have those separated, again, we build tailor-made databases, so tailor-made input fields per organization in our Pro version. So reach out to us and we can tell you all about how detailed we can go. And we will show that to you in a little bit, of course, as well. Again, here we are looking at the different emission sources in business travel. So I promise to get back to the different distances shortly. When you look here, we had a flight from Amsterdam to Gothenburg, which is just below 700 kilometers. So all the flights that we are taking, which were 5 in and 5 out, more or less, all flights that were taken must be the total distance must be accounted or summed up and then reported up in this category of flights, airplane regional. The reason that these are separated is that because takeoff and landing during an airplane flight is relatively high in the consumption of kerosene, and therefore shorter flights are per kilometer with a higher emission factor of greenhouse gas emissions. Also, the employee commuting is a free emission source in our dashboard, in the free version of the dashboard. However, in the current, in the case study for us, there is no employee commuting taken into the calculation. So what we did take into the calculation, of course, was the impact following the production and assembly of our Hedgehog nightlights. So there we have to switch to the Pro version of our case study. So here is the Peters Incorporated database. We're selecting the database, pressing save. And then when we switch back to our Manage Data tab, we go to scope 3, and you can see here now a longer list of emission categories. Business travel and employee commuting we've already discussed. The ones interesting here are then the downstream transportation and distribution. Here we are listing the ton kilometers of our logistics. So that's the weight times the amount of kilometers that this is shipped. And we have the lamp production, so the purchase goods and services. How many resources do we need for our lamps? As I mentioned, we have calculated via a product impact assessment what the embodied carbon emissions are of our raw materials. We came up with 350 grams per unit. So what am I filling in here are the amount of units that we have produced in our reporting period, which is October in 2023. Then we have, of course, the other transportation. Sorry, I mixed up downstream and upstream. This is upstream, here is downstream, because it's an alphabetical sequence. So we're listing again there the amount of ton kilometers of how much weight and how much kilometer the trucks are driving. And finally, of course, we had the use of sold products. So we have determined that there was 1.7 kilowatt hours of electricity per lamp, all consumed in the Netherlands. So we're filling in 60,000 units that have been sold produced and sold in October, and that are having an expected lifetime energy or electricity consumption of 1.7 kilowatt hours. And this is also something that is arranged under the GHG protocol. So, of course, this is the interesting and boring stuff, filling in the data. But when you have achieved all this, you can finally go to your dashboard to your overview, where there now no more is a warning that you still have to fill in the data to see the actual overview of your carbon emissions. So as I mentioned, the Hedgehog Carbon Dashboard is really a monitoring. It's a business carbon calculator, but it's also a monitoring tool. So you are monitoring your carbon footprint over time. And this also means that when we are looking here at the bottom of the page, we can see the impact over time. And when I'm filling in my carbon footprint over the months, I can see seasonal changes because it's getting winter. So we're using more heating to get a little bit warmer in the office. But also if the sales are going a bit less good, you'll see the changes, etc., etc. When we're looking here at the top, we can switch between our reporting years. I've not filled in anything for 2022, also not for 2024, but we're currently in 23. And of course, you can also zoom in into these different scopes, because every scope is a different, has different rules, so to say, also for your reduction activity. So for example, if we want to dive into scope 1, we click on scope 1. And then over here, we can see the impact of scope 1 over time. We see our total impact in scope 1 listed here on the left side, and also what is the contribution of scope 1 to our total carbon footprint. And here at the bottom, you can see the list of impact items going from high to low. So if we look here in our Peters Incorporated, we can see that company vehicles driving on gasoline have an emission of 19.36 ton of CO2 equivalent, with a contribution to the total carbon footprint of 9.4%. Same goes for natural gas. We're consuming natural gas on site. It has an emission of 18.57 and is contributing with 9% to our total. Of course, all the environments are the same for your, to make everything extra clear. When we're switching to the final one, the scope 3, you can also see that we have some more emission sources over here. Then when we are going back to the total, in the total overview, there's always only your top 5 listed here of all the scopes combined. So here you can really see what has the highest contribution to your carbon footprint of your organization.